Female Inmates Exposed. Life inside a notorious women's lockup. For more real crime stories, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and let's discuss your thoughts in the comments. The clang of steel doors echoed through Riverside Women's Correctional Facility, cutting through the tense silence like a warning. It was 7:45 a.m., and the morning count had just finished when a sudden commotion erupted in Cell Block C. Guards rushed to the scene as shouts and cries filled the corridor. At the center of the chaos was Jasmine Collins, a 28-year-old inmate serving a sentence for fraud, her fists raised in desperation as she tried to defend another inmate from a sudden attack. A fight had broken out over a minor argument about personal space, but the consequences were far from minor. One inmate, Tanya Morales, had been cornered near the sinks, and a punch sent her sprawling across the cold, tiled floor. Blood trickled from a split lip, and the other women in the block froze in shock. Guards stepped in, shouting, separating the combatants, but the damage was done. The tension in the hall was palpable. This was more than just a scuffle. It was a vivid glimpse into the daily struggles inside a high-security women's prison, where survival often meant asserting dominance over your neighbors. The warden arrived minutes later, her face a mask of frustration and authority. Cameras from a local investigative team allowed limited access for a documentary, recorded every detail. The footage captured not only the fight but also the raw emotion on the faces of the women, fear, anger, and weariness layered together. One guard whispered, "It's like walking on a tightrope. One wrong move, and it all spirals." Jasmine's eyes met the camera briefly, a mixture of defiance and resignation staring back. To understand how this moment came to be, we must go back to the beginning of the day. At 5:30 a.m., alarms had rung through the facility, signaling wake-up. The women rolled out of their bunks in silence, prepared for another day of monotony. Showers, breakfast, and the morning head count were conducted with military precision. Many inmates, like Jasmine, had learned to navigate the strict rules, but even minor provocations could ignite explosive situations. Some women were serving time for nonviolent offenses, such as theft or drug possession, yet the harsh routines and the confinement of high-security cells left no room for emotional flexibility. The fear of punishment for minor infractions, combined with limited space, created a pressure cooker atmosphere. Staff monitored interactions closely, but human emotions and fragile tempers were impossible to fully control. By mid-morning, the hallways were filled with tension. Inmates whispered warnings to one another, alliances were carefully maintained, and the weight of separation from children and families bore down heavily. And just as Jasmine was escorted back to her cell, a piercing scream echoed from the far corner of the block. Heads snapped toward the noise. Something had gone terribly wrong, and no one in the block could have anticipated what would happen next. The scream from Cell Block C reverberated through Riverside Women's Correctional Facility, freezing every inmate in place. Guards rushed toward the sound, radios crackling with urgency. Tony had witnessed chaos before, but this felt different. At the center of the disturbance was Monica Harper, a soft-spoken 33-year-old serving time for embezzlement, trembling on the floor. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched her stomach. Fellow inmates circled her cautiously, unsure whether to help or stay back. Paramedics were called immediately, and a guard held the block doors shut to prevent the other women from crowding. Jasmine, still breathing heavily from the earlier scuffle, watched in disbelief. She had survived a fight moments ago, but now she faced something far more unsettling. It turned out that Monica had collapsed from severe dehydration and malnutrition, a direct consequence of the insufficient meals and limited resources within the prison. This was not an isolated incident. Several women had reported feeling weak, dizzy, or sick from the same poor conditions. The investigation that followed revealed startling details about daily life in the prison. Meals were often repetitive and lacking in proper nutrients. Medical care was scarce, with long waits for even the simplest checkups. Inmates with chronic conditions struggled to get prescriptions, and mental health services were almost non-existent. These conditions turned routine days into survival challenges. Every meal, every bathroom break, and every interaction became part of a delicate balancing act. Despite these hardships, some women found ways to reclaim small pieces of autonomy. Jasmine and a few others had learned to make microwave meals, using items from the commissary: powdered milk, peanut butter, instant noodles, and crackers. They exchanged ingredients quietly, trading skills for small comforts. These improvised meals became not just sustenance, but symbols of resilience, solidarity, and a small rebellion against the rigid control of the facility. By afternoon, the mood in cell block C was tense but calmer. Guards conducted routine checks, and the medics escorted Monica to the infirmary. The women whispered amongst themselves, sharing warnings about alliances and rivalries. Even the smallest gestures, offering a slice of bread, lending a cup of water, could carry immense weight in this confined ecosystem. But the fragile calm didn't last long. Later that day, during evening lockdown preparations, a loud crash echoed from the laundry area. Everyone turned their heads sharply. In the corner, a fight had broken out between two inmates over limited laundry slots. One of the women, enraged and desperate, had overturned a heavy metal cart. Guards scrambled to contain the chaos, but the air was thick with fear and adrenaline. Jasmine backed against the wall, realizing that life inside the prison was not just a daily grind. It was a constant test of endurance, strategy, and nerve. And as the cart crashed and a scream pierced the block, she knew one wrong move could change everything. The danger was far from over, and the night ahead promised another extreme moment that would test every woman inside the facility. The metallic crash from the laundry area reverberated through the hallways, cutting through the low hum of lockdown routines. Inmates froze mid-step, eyes wide, as guards rushed toward the disturbance. Jasmine pressed herself against the wall, heart racing, while shards of tension sliced through the block. At the center of the chaos was Rebecca Lawson, a 27-year-old serving time for identity fraud, swinging a heavy laundry cart at anyone who came too close. Her movements were frantic, desperate, fueled by fear and frustration over the overcrowded space and the lack of personal control in her daily life. The guards moved carefully, forming a human barrier to prevent the fight from escalating further. Other inmates watched in a mix of fascination and fear. In a high-security women's facility, fights were rare but explosive when they occurred. The lack of space, scarce resources, and simmering grudges could ignite in an instant. Jasmine's pulse quickened. She understood that in moments like this, being alert was as vital as holding her own. After a tense standoff, Rebecca finally dropped the cart. Guards restrained her, but the incident left a ripple of unease across the block. Women whispered among themselves, speculating about what triggered her outburst. Some blamed stress from isolation. Others pointed to insufficient meals and harsh routines. In a prison environment, small problems, like waiting too long for laundry, missing commissary items, or a delayed meal, could quickly spiral into conflict. Later that evening, the inmates gathered quietly in the common area, some working on commissary meals while others played cards or exchanged stories. Jasmine sat with a small group, carefully mixing powdered milk with a few crackers and a spoonful of peanut butter. These improvised meals had become a lifeline, a way to regain control over a tiny portion of life inside the walls. Conversation was subdued, but the bonds formed over these small acts of sharing brought a sense of community to an otherwise harsh environment. Yet, peace was fleeting. Just as the lights dimmed for the final head count, a piercing scream cut across the block. Jasmine's head snapped toward the sound. At the far end, near the isolation cells, a new confrontation had erupted. Two inmates were screaming, shoving, and clawing at each other with a ferocity that threatened to drag the entire block into chaos. Guards rushed in, but the frenzy had already ignited panic among the women. Jasmine's mind raced. Life in Riverside Women's Correctional Facility was more than rules and routine. It was a constant negotiation of survival, strategy, and alliances. Every day brought new challenges, and every moment of calm could explode into violence. She gripped her makeshift meal tightly, knowing she had survived this round, but the next extreme incident could change everything. The block was on edge, breathing shallow, hearts pounding, and eyes fixed on the unfolding confrontation. Jasmine realized one truth. Inside these walls, survival wasn't just about following rules. It was about anticipating danger before it struck, and tonight, the danger had just begun.